Hey everybody, welcome to Dream Homes with Kathy. In this episode today, we are going to be talking about Burnaby's new zoning bylaws and how it affects one of my favorite topics, custom homes, single families. I'm here today with my colleague,
Nicholas Petrie.
Yeah, so let's dive right in there. Hey everyone, welcome to Dream Homes with Kathy. I'm Kathy Yoen, an architectural technologist, custom home designer, and founder of Phase One Design. Our team and I have helped over 1,000 homeowners design their dream homes. This channel is dedicated to sharing our knowledge with you. Okay, so obviously there's been a ton of changes to Burnaby's rules. Lots of people talk about the multiplexes, but let's talk about the rules that have affected single family. I mean, you know my most favorite one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that one first.
Now we can do custom. It is amazingly flexible now under the new rules. There's no floor space ratio or floor area ratio calculations, depending on which terminology you want to use. And now we're just limited by how much lot we're allowed to cover and how many stories we're allowed to have.
Which is crazy. So really what that means, kind of, to simplify that, back in the day before this new zoning bylaw, there was actually a number where it actually said, okay, you are not allowed to design your house past X number, and X being like a real hard fast number. You could not exceed square footage wise. Whereas now a maximum lot coverage is like how much you can actually cover on your lot. And most homes in Burnaby are 3 stories, so you have your basement, main floor, second floor. So times that number by 3 floors, and there is actually no maximum. Even from a design perspective, there's lots of creative ways to maximize that as well.
And you can actually push it even further now under the new rules, because you're allowed to have a basement and 3 stories on top of it.
Good point,
Now, admittedly, you're probably going to push it in and do some little articulation to be able to make it more interesting. But there is far, far less stimulation now.
So many design options. The other really cool thing, we've been working in Burnaby since 2015 as a firm, and the one thing, this is getting a little technical, but I think it's really important to talk about anyway. So for anybody in industry that's ever worked in Burnaby before, they used to have this rule for the grading, and which essentially what it did is it limited your building height in a way where, even for example, if you just had what we would define as a standard house with a basement, main floor, upper floor, it would be very challenging in some cases to actually get that 3-story home, because Burnaby would actually measure it from the lowest grade, whether it's a proposed or existing, which, again, this is getting really technical, but from a design standpoint, that made it very challenging. And now...
Well, they're talking about harmonizing with the BC Building Code and using an average of all the grade points on the lot. So if you actually are on that hill, instead of counting it from the lowest point on that hill, they'd actually count it from the center point, which that by itself allows you usually an extra half a story of height. On top of that, they're also increasing the height that's allowable and allowing you to go to 3 stories in a basement instead of 2 stories in a basement. It's an incredible change.
So excited. Let's talk about, last but not least, parking.
Yes. So parking, once again, they've been more flexible than I've ever seen. And now you're only required 1 parking stall per 2 units, whether it's a primary suite and a secondary suite, for example, or if you had a Laneway house on the back. If you do have 3 total, so let's say your main house, your secondary suite, and your Laneway house, then you would be required to have 2 parking stalls. But in all honesty, with the new rules, most likely people are going to have more parking anyways.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, one thing we forgot to talk about, Nick, I think we should give our viewers some examples of, what that looks like square footage wise from a house, because nobody ever calculates, besides people like us, maximum lot coverage in our heads. So like on a standard, custom home in Burnaby before, we would be at 5,000-6,000 square feet, let's just say, on a house.
Yeah, usually 6,000 would be the most.
And now it's way more than that.
So on the average lot in Burnaby now, you can easily push 7,000 or 8,000 square feet if you wanted to. For a single family home, if you had one of the slightly larger, then you can push upwards of 12,000 square feet if you really want to.
Yeah, it's crazy. Last but not least, let's talk about one more thing. Let's talk about Laneway Homes and secondary suites.
Sure. So Laneway Homes are going through a change. They'll no longer be required to have a lane, which is an amazing piece by itself that allows you a lot of different options where you can either have a driveway up to the house or just a walkway up to the house and parking at the front if you don't have any lane access. They're also not limiting the size of the buildings for laneway houses. They're going to not calculate floor space anymore, so you can play with this
as within the maximum lot coverage.
Yeah, within your maximum lot coverage and your setbacks, of course. And then secondary suites, they're being very, very flexible with those as well. They still have the limitations upon building code as to the percentage of your building and so forth, but you no longer have other limitations, and you can make pretty large secondary suites. There is one rule though that at least one unit, including the main house, has to have at least 3 bedrooms, but that's pretty standard.
That's pretty standard, I would say, in Burnaby. Okay, well, awesome. I am so excited to sign some new custom homes in Burnaby under these new zoning laws.
It is the most flexible. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to what you get to do with it.
Yay! Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a ton more videos about Burnaby's new zoning bylaws. We'll link them all down below. Thanks so much for watching. Again, I'm Kathy Ewan.
I'm Nicholas Petrie.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now. Don't forget to download our playbook on Burnaby's new zoning bylaw for a super quick and easy reference on all the new guidelines. And for those looking to start the design process on multiplexes or any other projects in Greater Vancouver, Lower Mainland, feel free to reach out to us below. We will drop the details below.